ducks in a row. And
okay, I do hear you on the stream.
Do hear me. Excellent. So we are a moment before the top of the hour. And I guess we'll just give it another moment. Close a couple things here so I don't confuse myself.
Yeah, don't do that. Hi, RT. Archie's from Tomorrowland.
Oh, that's right. And he comes from a land down under.
Logan? We're wondering if you are the Logan we know. Possibly.
Ooh, he's got his name as a palindrome. It's the reverse there.
It is. Huh? How did he do that? Wait a minute.
Forwards and backwards. Oh my.
So anyways, we just wonder if your frequency, we're not sure. You might be. Our old pal Aunt Tudor's here. Your husband Billy. Now, what did you want to do? Play that PSA like at the very beginning?
We can do that once we decide that it's time to start the show. Let me just pick up something here that I forgot I had.
Oh, and are you recording on?
We are live on YouTube.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
Oh, we've got a couple of folks in the chat room already, and I do believe that Tommy should be along any time now. We should get this show under the road?
Yep, play that PSA. We'll start with that.
Okay. It should come as no surprise that our little theater here is nestled in a fair hamlet that prides itself on its patriotism. This time of year, Main Street is lined with red, white, and blue bunting and flags. Every year, there's an apple pie contest. Why, there's even a story that a former president once slept here. In the coming month, our nation faces an important event, Election Day. If you have a difference of opinion on the direction our country is headed, it's important you participate. It's not just about who signs the paychecks for high officials. It's about affecting change for the generation to come. Please vote on Election Day. Good evening, and welcome to the beautiful historical Marionette Theater. Please take your seats. Matinee Minutia is about to begin. Why, hello there, Mr. Smellie. It's good to see you. I'm glad you were able to make it in tonight on this fair, brisk summer evening.
Yeah, fall's in the air. Happy beginning of season 3, DJ.
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Who'd have known all those shows ago when we were sitting down to watch my dad's favorite maybe dirty movie, maybe sci-fi movie. Wait, what was that again? It was a comic book, wasn't it? Barbarella. Anyways, we're here for season 3, and it is September, so fall is just around the corner, and we've started feeling those temperatures dip, and I am ready to go traipsing through those falling leaves. How about you?
Yeah, we just had Labor Day. I don't know about you, but having gone to school for so many years, you get to the end of summer, and even though I've been out of school for decades, that feeling of the summer ending and the fall beginning still makes me think of school and the start of school and like a new beginning kind of feeling. And that's sort of why we decided to go with Stand By Me as our premiere for season 3, because it has that end of summer, beginning of a new era in the lives of these kids. So I thought it was appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a number of years since I was in school too, but every time I see a kid waiting for a bus, it just brings me back to that moment when
Yeah.
I was leaving the house for the day and I didn't have to pay bills yet.
Right, right. Now, DJ, before we get going, I want to say a little something to the audience and
Mhm.
a little something to you, DJ, and
Okay.
that is that over the summer, I had my birthday in August, and you organized a little something for me that I want to acknowledge here today on Matinee Minutia. I had quite a surprise, and it was something you masterminded.
Mhm.
And I thought I was going to be appearing on a show of our friend Paul Chandler to kind of promote Matinee Minutia. But instead, is that you or me?
That would be you.
I have no idea what that is. I
the, chickens
seriously
are,
don't.
the chickens are protesting.
Honest to God, I don't know what's making that noise. Anyways, we'll ignore it, and that's really weird. Anyways, not to be distracted, folks. Uh, I experienced a nice birthday surprise engineered by DJ. I thought I was going on someone's podcast. It ended up being a Zoom full of friends of mine who showed up and participated to wish me a happy birthday. And it was just a delight and an utter surprise. And I must thank you, DJ, for really an extraordinary event. And I most appreciate everything you did there.
It was my pleasure, sir. And to anyone listening to the sound of my voice, if you're able to participate, thank you once again for showing up and making the day special.
All right, DJ, before we get the show proper, allow
Mhm.
me to roam through the apartment to see if I can find out what is making that noise.
He lost his
I
marbles.
wonder if it's my heat. I wonder if it's my heater. But anyway, stand by, folks. DJ will now sing a song to enthrall you whilst I investigate my apartment.
Sure, I will regale you with the theme to tonight's program. We're standing by me. We're standing and waiting for Mr. Smellie's return. Do we know if he'll come back? We hope he'll come back. We will just have to see. What is that noise in Toppie's apartment? And I think that he may have found it. He is back at the microphone.
Okay, I'm back. I found out what it was. It was a fan that just for some reason went kerblonky and started making that noise, which it has never done ever until just a few moments ago. Anyways, we're back. I think we should start. We've delayed long enough.
Right. Now, before we get our showgirl down onto the stage here, she's out of breath. She just came in under the wire.
I sure did. Oh boy, am I tired. Anyways, you know the routine. Hi, boys. Oh,
You know,
hi.
and
Hi.
if you subscribe to us and you listened to a little show we had, a little mini show between our break there, Gertie called
yeah.
us from the Midwest to let us know she might be a little late tonight. And well, she had a gig at a place called the Bunker. Now, Gertie, tell us a little about the Bunker. Were you like a USO gal dressed up for that?
Oh, USO. Yeah, that's what it was. Perfect. Perfect story. If you believe that, you have a pole and you dance around it and you're semi-naked. Anyways, USO tour, perfect. Good cover, DJ. Anyways, oh boy, it was
And
so much fun.
now, when you were on the phone to us, you had a mister in the background there. What happened to
Oh
him?
yeah. Oh, well, Oh, wait, that's Henry. Oh boy, that he is. We're sort of an item now. Yeah, and well, it's a new thing. I'm kind of into it. Um, and it's nice to be wanted. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, it sure is. And speaking of being wanted, could you get yourself down there to the stage? Because
Oh
we
yeah,
need to tell the folks about tonight's show.
yeah. Start of season 3. I'm at the top of my game, boys. All right, let me go down there. Okay. I'm going. I'm going. All right. Well, there she goes. Oh, she's very excitable tonight, isn't she?
It sure is. She sure is. She's like well, a little Catholic schoolgirl, I think.
Okay, I'm ready. Let me do it.
Okay.
Jay. In the last summer of their youth, 4 New England boys set out on an adventure when a missing kid turns up dead. Driven by their curiosity, the friends followed the train tracks, sharing stories, revealing their strengths and weaknesses along the way. Pack yourself a bedroll and some sandwiches and some Pez candies. There'll be tears, laughter, and vulgarity. What else do you expect of 12-year-old boys? It's time for Stand By Me. Hit it, boys.
What do you get when you take a dash of the silver screen? A pinch of golden oldies and a smidgen of screaming. It's time for Matinee Minutia with your host DJ and Toppie.
Very nice.
And,
Every year, DJ tinkers with our opening intro. And this is his 3rd one. He does a good job. By the way, this is my night to compliment DJ. You know, he deserves. No, I want you to know that every intro that Gertie has for every single episode of Matinee Minutia is written by DJ, and I always think he does a great job. So thank you, DJ.
Thank you. So, Toppie, this was a show that made you think of your growings up, your youth. It gave you a memory of boyhood, and tonight we're going to be sharing that with our listeners. And you know, at the beginning of the show, we had a special announcement there about well, participating in our political system here in this country. And I think that we should note that a very sad occasion that has passed is on this day as we're recording this. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed away. So, you know, if maybe you haven't participated in the election process in the past, now would be a good time because with the loss of such a person making important decisions for this country, we need somebody in office who's going to pick her replacement. So, anyways,
that just happened, right? Well, I didn't know about it until minutes before getting online tonight, so a bit of a shocker. So, DJ, tonight's movie, Stand By Me, it's about a group of kids just before going back to school, embark on an adventure to find basically the body of some kid who has been known to have perished out in the woods somewhere, and their mission becomes to be the people that the group that finds the body. And on their way, a lot of things happen. So do we have that trailer for that, DJ?
Yes, sir. Here we go.
In all our lives, there's a fall from innocence. A time after which we are never the same. happened in the summer of 1959. A long time ago. But only if you measure it in terms of years.
You guys want to go see a dead body?
I bet you anything that if we find him, we'll get our pictures in the paper. Yeah, we can even be on TV. Sure, we'll be heroes. Yeah. Just supposing that I told the story. Do you think that anyone would believe it?
This is really a good time. The most
A blast.
I'm never gonna get out of this town, am I, boy? I'll do anything you want, man.
Just wish that I could go someplace where nobody knows me.
And before we begin, let's say hi to the chat room. Aunt Tudor, who's always here. Your husband, Billy. We've got Logan Nagal. We have RT Cruiser from tomorrow. Yes, he's from the land down under, all the way from Australia. So glad to have you here, RT. We've got our pal, Tommy Hash Browns. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I saw Crone poke in and out. She's probably listening on her phone. So hi to Crone Haven as well. So DJ, oh my goodness, this movie came out in 1986. Tell us what was going on in the world at that time.
Okay, one sec here. Let me find that sound effect here. I'm doing that right now. One sec. Okay, one sec. Okay. Where is the button going to go? Okay. The U.S. history in 1986. This is our third trip down memory lane to 86. It's actually the first time of the movie, though. The first federal Martin Luther King Jr. Day was instated in 86, honoring the memory of Dr. Martin Luther King, is observed. First group of artists are inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that year, and it included Elvis, James Brown, and Little Richard. Certainly, probably favorites of the boys in tonight's film. The Space Shuttle Challenger and crew was lost to a launch disaster. I remember while I was in grade school. Corazon Aquino became the first Filipino woman president. And in the top of the box office that we'll be revisiting in a little bit, Top Gun, Tom Cruise's big film, was released and became the highest grossing film of the year. It hit $177 million in the U.S. alone. Also in 86, the talk show host, famed for her own channel more recently, Oprah Winfrey debuted.
Yay, boo. No.
And at the tender age of 20, Mike Tyson. Yeah, he later bit an ear and got a face tattoo. He became the youngest heavyweight champion after defeating Trevor Berbick in Las Vegas. And before seeking re-election, Ronald Reagan, well, he saw the unemployment rate during his first term drop to 6.6%, the lowest since 1980.
Yay.
Now, speaking of the other part of 86, when the stork came to call, Toppie, who are some of the people that entered the world that year?
Well, we have Lady Gaga, pop artist, amazing. We have Amanda Bynes, actress with a lot of Disney projects. We got Megan Fox, the model and actress. We got Shia LaBeouf, the actor. We got Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, those cute little twins that are, I don't know, not so cute anymore. We have Drake Bell, the actor and musician, Lindsay Lohan, another former Disney actress and singer, and Leah Michelle, another actress and singer, all born in 86.
Okay, well, competing for your attention in 86 in the theater because Stand By Me, it was a release on the silver screen. And, going right along with our record here, because if you listen to the voicemail, we are home of the hits that fell from the box office. Stand
Kinda.
By Me was lucky number 13 that year. Brought in
Right.
52 million, and just an honorable mention, top 5 or Top Gun at 176 million with Tommy Cruise. Crocodile Dundee, it was number 2, 174 million with
Hey,
Paul
RT. Hey, RT, chime in the chat room. Was Paul Hogan and Crocodile Dundee just totally bogus to you Australians, or I don't know? Do you guys respect it at all?
I hear down under they don't really consider Foster's to be a local beer.
Oh yeah. All right. So what else did we have after Crocodile?
We got Karate Kid Part 2 when he was in Okinawa. It was number 3 and it had 115 million. Now that also featured an actress that was in the new Picard series. She got to play a Romulan.
Ooh.
Oh, yes, and winding things down with the last 2 of the top 5. Back to School, a personal favorite with Rodney Dangerfield, was number 4. It was 91 million. And Sigourney Weaver's much anticipated sequel, Aliens, was number 5 at 85 million. Now, I know what you're going to ask me. Stand By Me was number 13. What was the closest competition? Well, I'm glad you asked, because the one just a hair ahead with The Color of Money at number 12. 52 million.
That seems like forever ago that The Color of Money came out.
No, I have heard of this movie, and I've probably seen parts of it, but now I want to go see from start to finish because of our conversations we have here, the minutia. Color of Money has Paul Newman and Tom Cruise. That sounds like an interesting pairing. And
it was a sequel of sorts to a decade or so earlier movie with Paul Newman that had Paul Newman facing off against Jackie Gleason in a game of pool, and doggone if I can remember what the hell that movie was called.
Maybe someone in the chat room will give us the answer.
Yeah. Oh, The Hustler. There you go. Tommy had it. It was called The Hustler.
And on the rung just below Stand By Me at number 14 was a film called Legal Eagles. Now, this brought in 49 million in 86, and it starred Robert Redford and Deborah Winger.
Whatever happened to her? Let's get right into the cast of Stand By Me. I think we might as well just start right off with Will Wheaton, probably still one of the best known. He was born in Burbank. He did a lot of appearances on television, starting out in the commercials. I think he did one for Jell-O with Bill Cosby in the early 80s. And he had small roles in 3 films prior to Stand By Me. Stand By Me was his first leading role. I guess you'd call him the lead. Yeah, he was the lead, right? Yeah. Shortly after, of course, famously, after Stand By Me, he was cast in Star Trek The Next Generation, where he appeared in some subsequent 85 episodes. And he was the first cast member of the new series to be born after the original Star Trek of the 60s was even conceived. He did quite a few movies, and some of them after Stand By Me. He was in another 4 or 5 movies, kind of faded, really, from acting to a good deal. and instead has led his voice on several animated series like Teen Titans and Ben 10. And he sort of resurfaced more recently on TV on The Big Bang Theory. And he's host of something called CBS's The Ready Room. So he's still out and about. And Will Wheaton lives with some mental illness that he is not shy about talking about and supporting. And it's generalized anxiety disorder and chronic depression. And he supports the mental health nonprofit organizations that raise awareness of those conditions. So I don't know. It seems to me for quite a while there, he was also one of the original Twitter. I don't know. All I know is that when Twitter started, it was Will Wheaton, Will Wheaton, Will Wheaton on Twitter. That's all I remember.
Yeah, and he also had a short-lived show on the Sci-Fi Channel. It was based on a blog that he used to run, and he actually was on a series that was one of the first of its kind. It was a web-based series called The Guild, and it was actually a series about people who do online gaming. And I'm forgetting her name right now, but there's an actress that was in a project with Neil Patrick Harris. The project was Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along. Anyways, this is an actress that I've met at one of our sci-fi conventions, but Will Wheaton had a part in that web series called The Guild, where he was a gamer. So,
all right.
Well, on to our next person in the cast. So, starring alongside Will Wheaton was Mr. River Phoenix. Now, sadly, Mr. Phoenix is no longer with us. His star burned out too young. But River was the son of migrant workers. He spent his early years in South America. He was a musician, a vegetarian, and an animal rights activist. Some might say his folks were sort of hippies. River's first film role was in a feature called Explorers, which is one of my favorites. And it's basically a story about some kids who get together and they build a spaceship. And one of the members of the cast has a scientist father, so he's the brain, and they use his computer to make the ship fly. So that had Ethan Hawke in it in '85. Now that was also by the director of Gremlins, so it wasn't no small affair. River would also land 8 film roles in the next 5 years before being in Stand By Me, and another 5 after that before his unexpected passing. In fact, his last film project was amidst filming, and they actually had to scrap the film because there wasn't enough of it finished.
Oh, all right. Tommy in the chat room reminds us that Joe Dante was the director of that movie that you mentioned with Ethan Hawke and The Explorers.
Oh, yeah.
So we got another a young actor at the time, Corey Feldman. So he also started in commercials. He was in a McDonald's gift certificate commercial. He had a lot of small roles in films prior to Stand By Me. He was in Gremlins, and also famously, probably most, The Goonies in 1985. Also, he would appear in 6 films during the next 5 years. That included License to Drive with Corey Haim and Carol Kane. That was in 88. In 89, he was in The Burbs with Tom Hanks and Carrie Fisher. And DJ, it's important to note how the story originated and who was writing what.
Mm-hmm. So this was an adaptation. The original story itself was a novella, a short story by well-noted author Stephen King. Now, Of course, Stephen King was no stranger to having his stories turned into films. The other year, we did one of his own films that was turned into a story that was turned into a film, The Shining, which, of course, famously, Stephen King could not stand Stanley Kubrick's take on his story. But Mr. Reynold Gideon did the screenplay adaptation of Stephen King's story, which was called The Body at the time it was published. Now, Mr. Gideon also worked on another film that's one of my favorites from just a couple of years before. In 1984, with Jeff Bridges, Mr. Gideon wrote Starman.
Mm-hmm. With Jeff Bridges, 1984.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the director and the producer, Rob Reiner, who is son of the famed actor-writer Carl Reiner. Now, Carl Reiner goes way back in the history of TV to the very beginning. And his really solid success was being behind the Dick Van Dyke Show as the writer, the head writer, and the creator of that show. He's since gone on to do so many things, directing movies, etc., etc. Carl Reiner, jeepers! The only film that jumps out at me is the first movie with Steve Martin, The Jerk. But he's directed many other movies besides The Jerk. It's just the only one that came out. That's Carl Reiner, the father of Rob Reiner, who directed Stand By Me. So he was the son of a very famous writer. And Rob Reiner has a total of at least 26 directing credits to this day. Stand By Me was his third movie. He'd previously directed kind of an underground cult favorite. It's called This Is Spinal Tap. And it's about a metal band, but it's a documentary, but it's a spoof. It's a spoof of the documentary genre and also of heavy metal bands that, is just a little secret delight of a movie. He went on to direct 3 more films in the next 3 years. He did Princess Bride, certainly. Oh my goodness, one of my absolute favorites.
Inconceivable.
Yes, inconceivable. And When Harry Met Sally, his wonderful, just lovely little rom-com.
I'll have what she's having.
Yeah. And of course, he met up with Stephen King once again for Misery with Kathy Bates.
Man.
Absolutely. In the past 5 years, Rob Reiner's still in there. He did 3 films in the past 5 years. So he's still in there. And Stephen King famously told Rob Reiner after screening Stand By Me, Stephen King was quite emotionally stunned by the movie, and he told Rob Reiner, "This is the best film of anything I've written that anyone's ever done." And Rob Reiner was very, very proud of that, as he should be. So there you go. Quite a movie. I chose it because I said, as I said, at the start of school year and the new feeling of like, oh, you can sort of start over. This was kind of a buddy movie and kind of a like on the road movie where things happened to them as they went along. And they were 3 very close friends, very different characters, all of them. I got to ask DJ, do you remember, like, these kids are like right at the end of junior high and about to go into high school, as I recall. Did you have like a group of friends like this?
Well, good point. This was a time for me that I certainly remember, that time where you're not yet a teenager because I was about to become an uncle. Since I was the youngest of 4, everyone is ahead of me in the game. My one sister got married at 17, and I was about to become an uncle. And we had also moved for the first time that I was old enough to remember, so I had to change schools, and I did have to get a new group of friends. We didn't get into the kind of mayhem that the boys in Stand By Me did, but I do remember once sneaking into an apartment where someone may have just moved in or moved out. There wasn't any furniture, and we snuck a stick of pepperoni from someone's fridge.
TJ, I hate to jump in here, but your husband Billy has been diligently trying to get at least my attention. Yeah, because I've been in the general chat room all this time. I have not been in the MatMin Minutia chat room. So thank you, Billy, because I finally I read your message. Is he talking to me? And I said, sure enough, I'm not in the main chat room, but I am now. Now I can see what you guys. By the way, anybody else? There's the general chat room, and then the chat room you want to be in is actually labeled Matinee Minutia. So shift right over there if you're like me and just forgot yourself.
Well, the quick way to get there is to actually go to matineeminutia.com. Now, if you go to UniVozPods.net, which is great because we want you to support our other shows, that link for Discord is going to send you to our directory because in theory, we have other live shows from time to time. So we are at about halfway through our show. We're going to take a step right on over here to the snack bar where our sweet senior showgirl has your favorite treats on hand. And we are going to take a brief break to listen to some things that Mr. Will Wheaton had to say about the reflection of the effect of Stand By Me on modern culture.
It's me, Kevin Smith, at Meltdown Comics in Los Angeles, getting ready for Comic-Con International, man, and IMDb at San Diego Comic-Con, where we're going to talk to all the movers and shakers and see everything that's going on in Con Weekend. And speaking of movers and shakers, there's one mover and shaker next to me, ladies and gentlemen, who is Con royalty. Give it up to the great, the immortal Will Wheaton. Will, thank you. This is all a way of saying, like, your geek bona fides are legit. You've done Star Trek, which of course is massive in our pop culture world. You've also dwelled in Stephen King world as well, man. One of the most high profile things you did in your childhood was Stand By Me. Yeah. Which, like, even now echoes decades later when you watch Stranger Things, you can't help but feel the elements.
My wife and I were watching Stranger Things. So we get to this episode where they're walking down train tracks and I just get like really tense. And like, I leaned over to my wife and I was like, that's not an accident, right? I mean, that's Stand By Me, right? I mean, they're doing homage to all this other stuff, right? Yeah. And she was like, yeah, I kind of think it is. And then I heard that the Duffer Brothers, when they auditioned the kids, they had them read scenes from Stranger Things, but they also had them read scenes from Stand By Me.
Are you kidding?
They wanted to cast kids who were able to relate the way we were able to relate to each other. That is such a huge compliment to Rob Reiner, who cast all of us and put us in that movie.
Is that how you guys wound up together in Stand By Me? It was Rob Reiner going, I like this chemistry. Yeah. Had any of you known each other prior?
I knew River and his family because, in the weirdest coincidence, River and his family lived literally around the block from me.
Are you kidding? Really?
It's so weird. And the reason that I knew them is they were the kids who all had the weird nature names. Right. That was how I knew all of them. But we weren't really close until we started filming. And then we were really close right up until about 18 months or 2 years before he died. One of the reasons that I think that movie endures so much is that anybody can relate to it, whether you grew up in an urban or rural area, because everybody has those kinds of friendships.
Vern, there's something on your neck. Yeah, right. I'm not falling for that one a chance. No, Vern, there is something on your neck. It's leech. Leeches! Oh, my God!
The characters are so archetypical. But Rob just cast 4 boys who were basically those characters. And it's kind of weird, like how we all kind of grew up and have lived out the adult lives of those characters as presented in the fiction. Like, I'm primarily a writer now. And like I really made a name for myself as a writer by telling narrative nonfiction stories about my childhood. And that
You're gonna make me cry, dude. It's like watching a real life sequel to Stand By Me.
Yeah, it's really weird when I stop to think about it, and I stop to think about like how all of us have just like it was prophetic, you know.
And we are back. So, Toppie, case in point here, you were asking me about that time frame in my life and, the folks that I hung out with. Now the spotlight's on you, sir, the hot seat. Did you have influential friends? Did you get into trouble?
No, we didn't get into trouble. We were goody two-shoes. So, yeah, the guys I hung out with were all fellow spazzes. They were fellow nerds. They, like me, were oddballs that didn't fit in anywhere. And we stuck together and had a solid bond. And we did fun things, projects together that were all incredibly nerdy on their own. And one of the things I noticed that in Stand By Me, that the kids are the four boys are kind of macho. There's a machismo that they're going for. And there's a lot of, like when River Phoenix will kick Will Wheaton in the fanny as they're walking, and a lot of punching the other in the shoulder and that kind of thing. And my friends and I, well, we never did anything that macho. So that was one difference. But I have to say, there's a line at the very, very end of the movie, and Richard Dreyfuss is back narrating. And he says, although I haven't seen him, he's speaking of the character portrayed by River Phoenix, who he's just revealed died a couple of weeks ago. He says, although I haven't seen him for over 10 years, I know I'll miss him forever. I never had any friends later on like the ones I had when I was 12. Jesus. Does anyone? And I have to say, those friends I had when I was 12, all my fellow nerds kind of feel that way. We had an unbreakable bond. And so that really spoke to me.
Yeah, I remember even around that age, that some of the things that I was doing in school was we were pretending to write a play, and we used to have differences of opinions on how the story was supposed to end, and I don't think we ever finished actually writing it. Mm-hmm. So I have to confess, before you mentioned watching this for our season premiere, this is one of those films that possibly, because of the time frame that it was set in, essentially it's loosely based on Stephen King's childhood. So this is supposed to be the late 50s. So, that post-war era before we have gotten involved in Vietnam. But there's certainly the machismo that you were talking about. So on the surface level, I guess maybe I never gave this movie a chance because it was all about boys who were just being dirty and smelly and nasty with each other. And I didn't give it another thought. I thought, no, that's not the kind of movie I want to watch. And so, of course, now being an older person, I think back to that period of my life. And I think, I got up to no good once in a while. And as I sat down to watch it, I thought, I wish I watched it when I was younger, because you have these important moments where you're with your friends. It helps to shape, who you later become. And they have these moments of tenderness between each other, not to get all sappy, but, you've got this very important scene with River Phoenix and Will Wheaton's character, where he's sitting down and he's telling him about the time that an adult disappointed him, that they had a chance to do right by him, But they, to use today's terminology, they threw him under the bus. That's when the teacher wouldn't confess that he did not steal the milk money, and they pocketed it themselves.
Mm-hmm. There was so much to that. I don't know. When you're that young and impressionable, one instance of something like that can really mislabel you in others' eyes and just send you down the wrong track. That's how, I think, to me, that's how delicate our lives are at that stage. And, you know, his entire life was affected by that one thing. And he was always sort of the rascal or the ne'er-do-well. And one of the latter scenes at the end, he's crying and confiding to Will Wheaton again in a private scene between the two of them, that he just wished he could go somewhere where nobody knew him, where he could start over. And boy, have I had, I mean, for me, going away to college, that's what it was all about. I wanted to start over. I was going someplace where nobody knew me as the schleppy, dopey nerd kid. And I was going to start everything all over. Anyways, I tried.
I have a clip about Will Wheaton talking about River Phoenix in that moment there where he was trying to break through the tears.
River was sort of frustrated. Like he didn't feel like he was connecting to the scene. He wasn't like really, he just wasn't there, he felt. So I said, well, I'll let you talk to the director and I'll just, I'm going to leave now. I'm going to walk away and go play Mattel handheld football or something. And they came back and River was really different. There was something just profoundly different about him. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit. And we shot the scene and River was very much a different person for the duration of that scene. I found out later that he was just saying to Rob, I don't know how to do this. And Rob said, I just want you to think about a time where someone really wronged you, where someone did a really terrible thing to you and no one would stand up for you. And I guess River had a moment like that in his life. And if you think about it, like River's parents were in like a couple of different weirdo cults when he was growing up. And so he spent time during his formative years where as a child, you want your parents to sort of be protecting you, like playing the guitar in the street in South America or Central America or something like that to like, feed his family and stuff, And when River came back from around the corner to film that scene, he had this emotional weight around him that freaked me out at the time because like as a little kid, like I didn't know what to do with that. And when the scene was done, he was sort of quiet for the rest of the day and then was sort of back to the way he had always been the very next day.
That's interesting. Speaking of Rob Reiner and how he worked with these young actors, there's a great bit that I believe I heard in the backtrack. What do they call these things they were doing?
Oh, behind the scenes?
Yeah, behind the scenes. It was another. Anywhere. You could turn the track to the director and a couple of other people's talking about the movie while you watch the movie. And Rob Reiner the movie got to the point, the wonderful train sequence where they are on a very long bridge that is spanning the length of this chasm. And they're not even halfway through it when a train is coming. And so it's a very tense, exciting scene with the kids running on the trestles, really high up off the ground, and the train is coming right up behind them. And Rob Reiner talks about it. He says, I just couldn't get these kids to believe they were in danger. I mean, whatever I told them to do, they just weren't convincingly afraid. He said, they just didn't really seem afraid. And so he decided that the only way he was going to get the performance he wanted is if he went psycho raving nuts on them. And he yelled at them and said, "You better start running or I'm fucking going to get the fucking bag. You better fucking..." And they really became afraid. And he got the performance he wanted. So I thought that was an interesting observation by Rob Reiner. The kinds of things you sometimes have to do to elicit the emotional response you want.
You know, it reminds me of when we learned about how many times poor Shelley Duvall had to repeat those scenes in The Shining, because as I was learning about Stand By Me and the production of it, that scene that you were talking about just now, apparently they spent a week trying to perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, the way they made it look so convincing was the use of a very specific lens that brought the background way up close to the foreground. And so that train really was on the tracks, but it was way back on the tracks. The kids were in no danger whatsoever. But because of this particular lens they used, when you're looking at those kids running towards the camera, that train looks like it is just a couple of yards behind them. But that's how they achieved that. They were in absolutely no danger.
So, just rounding things out, a little bit of trivia about Stand By Me that you may not know. Mr. Kiefer Sutherland, who played sort of the bully, he stole Will Wheaton's cap in the beginning of the film. And it should be noted that Will Wheaton's character had a brother who passed away before the film started. He was his older brother who died unexpectedly, and Kiefer Sutherland's character stole his brother's ball cap. But off the set, Kiefer wanted to keep in character, so he kept picking on the younger boys. And also, apparently, according to Kiefer Sutherland, there was a Renaissance fair nearby at one of the locations they were filming, and little Jerry O'Connell that played Vern, well, he supposedly had some of the funny cookies that were there, and he was found crying by himself later.
Okay.
And, Will Wheaton talked about video games in that clip. Well, that guy, he rigged the video games at the hotel they were staying at so you could play them for free.
There you go. It's interesting when you hear about behind the scenes and these people had a life. They did go to work, and sometimes the hours were long, but they did go back to whatever place was home at the time, some hotel here or there or wherever, if they were on location. And the things actors do to amuse themselves are sort of infamous. I gotta ask you, Kiefer Sutherland, son of Donald Sutherland. There were the first time I saw this movie, there were a number of times I was completely taken out of the movie for a number of different reasons. Now, one, and the chat room join in and DJ too, but the villain that Kiefer Sutherland played in this movie, at the time, I thought, God, this is so over the top. I mean, they're acting like they're really going to kill each other. And I thought, these stakes are too high. They're just kids. And yet, there's a gun involved, and that took me out of the movie. And I just felt like, come on, this is crazy. These are just kids. Nobody gets involved in this kind of thing. And then I thought later on in subsequent viewings that the villainy and the conflict was heightened because when you're that age and you've got someone just a little bit older, you can really be intimidated. And I thought, okay, now I get it, because I did feel intimidated by Kiefer Sutherland in this movie and his gang. And maybe at the time I first watched it, I thought, God, this is just too much. I mean, this is too dangerous. I don't like this. But later on, I felt like, if I was those kids' age, and Kiefer Sutherland was on my ass, I would have been effing intimidated for sure. How did you feel about the older kids and the way they were portrayed and the introduction of the gun? And like, I mean, I'm okay with it now, but originally it really took me out.
It strikes me that a movie like this probably couldn't be as easily made nowadays, just simply because of the fact that you have minors appearing on screen in next to nothing. And so that's something that they try to avoid because, well, there are bad people in this world. But I agree with you that there are moments in there that are actually kind of shocking. And it sort of helped me when I realized that the mind behind the original story was one Stephen King, because creative decisions being what they are, one of the things that was mentioned in some of the minutia is that Rob Reiner made the decision as he was developing the story into the film that even though originally in The Body by Stephen King, the lead character was not Gordy, Will Wheaton's character, he would become it because in his mind's eye, Gordy was Stephen King. And so some of the changes that took place were like the pie eating contest. And he said that he decided to make it cartoonish when it came.
It's interesting you bring that up. Hold that thought. But that's another scene that took me out. When I saw that scene, it was so broad and comically portrayed that I said, where are they going with this movie? This is so stupid. And I said, this doesn't fit in with anything that I've been watching. It's so broadly comic. I mean, it's the projectile vomiting. And I just thought to myself, what are they doing? Again, subsequent viewings, I started to love it. But that's another scene that just totally took me out of the movie the first time I saw it. Go ahead, DJ. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think that if a movie like this were made today, one of the things they probably do would be, take advantage of technology, and they probably would do more like flashback scenes. So when the boys were all relating with each other and letting their guards down, you might have seen some of those moments that led to them crying, like when the teacher let him down, or maybe when a parent was too rough.
What did you think about the scene where the one tough kid with the bad ear because his father slammed him upside the head or whatever? When he is facing down another train that's coming in, he's standing on the tracks in kind of one of those dare things, like he's going to leap out of the way at the last possible second. That really moved me. Just the that character, had a couple freakouts during the movie. That was one, and there was another time where he just became violent and out of control.
And it was it's well written for those scenes, because that is the way a young adult or a child reacts to a situation. Because he was in the scene that we're referring to is when they were sneaking through the junkyard. The junkyard owner just kind of puts him on the spot there. They're making fun of him and calling him overweight, and he tells them, I know who you are. Each of your parents is going to get a call from me. And not only does he tell each of them who they are, but he picks on Corey Feldman's character, which some of the minutiae I've read is that Corey Feldman may have actually been one of those cases in the 80s where a child actor divorced his parents.
Okay.
But anyways, with that mean-spirited, childish, a mentality that I remember, and I know this is stepping out of the box a little bit. I remember as a child, I was overweight, but I had a stay-at-home parent, and he was on disability. He had hurt himself on the job, and that was part of why he was a stay-at-home parent. But I remember being the last one at home. All my siblings had graduated and had left home, being teased by my classmates because my father was a stay-at-home parent, and they just simply saw him as being lazy. So in gym class, when it came to athletics, since I was a heavy-set child and I wasn't athletic, that was their nerve that they pressed, was that you're no better than your dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I have no trivia or behind the scenes about how they got that performance out of him when he just raged out at that adult, and just kind of went a little crazy. Pretty convincing. I mean, it was totally believable. So many scenes in this movie are so memorable. The leech scene, the train scene, the scene where they're just chatting around the campfire about trivial things of the day, like Pez candies, and so many interesting things. And yeah, the one scene that I called just super magical that struck me the first time I saw it, and remained like maybe one of the most memorable things, was after the leech scene, which was very traumatic for Will Wheaton's character. He awakens from a nap, or perhaps it's early morning, and sees a deer. The deer is very close to him, and he just lifts his head and looks kind of in fascination at this deer that's almost within reach. And to me, that was one of the greatest scenes. It was just so magical. And the narration, again, by Richard Dreyfuss, says something quite poignant, like, and I've never mentioned this to anyone until this very moment. It's something he kept private to himself. He didn't tell his friends that this happened. For all those years, he kept that one moment to himself. So that was almost that was a very. See, do you have either because it was just damn funny or poignant, or what? Any scene that just stands out for you?
Well, I like the scene where Vern, in the beginning of the movie, is searching for the pennies that he had buried.
Oh,
And
God, yeah.
he just happens to be at the right time at the right place, and that sets the stage for the story, because he overhears the guys in the gang talking about the dead kid. And so, of course, if it weren't for Vern being in the right place at the right time, the rest of the film wouldn't have happened the same way.
True, but that was funny. Yeah, when they set off on this adventure, it's funny what they collect. They're just dopey. That they're going off for a couple 3 days, and I don't know, they get cream puffs or something. I don't know. They get all these ridiculous things to eat, that are just totally kid things.
Oh, I love that scene because Vern, the chubby kid, he complains to Gordy, Will Wheaton's character, and he's like, couldn't you have gotten, this or that or breakfast food? And he's like, gee, Vern, maybe the next time we go shopping, someone else should do it.
Yeah. 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 A really phenomenal film for me. Especially like I say, I the first time I just wasn't sure about it, but then I saw it many times after, and it's, for me, it's just gotten more and more wonderful with each viewing. I wonder if today, with all those references to Pez, and I don't know, would anybody get it? Anybody today, that's maybe 14, 15, 20 years old today, I suppose they would get it, wouldn't they?
Maybe, but I certainly know one thing. They wouldn't be racing down the tracks because a train's coming up behind them.
Well, maybe not. Yeah.
Well, Toppie, we are in that part of the show where we let folks know something else they might enjoy if they liked Stand By Me. So I'll go first. This is what we call our snack tray, our related recommendations. So Stand By Me was a story that was set in the late 50s. Now, I'm going to recommend another story that's a drama about boyhood, also set in the 50s. And this is called This Boy's Life. Now, this is a film that came out in 93, and it has a young Leonardo DiCaprio in it, and also stars Robert De Niro. And the setting is a small town called Concrete. And it's about the harsh reality of this boy growing up with his stepdad, played by Robert De Niro.
I have not seen this. Interesting. So that was a 1993 movie.
Yes.
So my recommendation is, I really was stumped for a while. I was trying to think of what other movie do you see from the point of view of children, that's them looking at adult behaviors and things. And I thought of To Kill a Mockingbird, with Gregory Peck, the 1962 black and white movie, where, as in the novel, so memorably, the entire story is told from the point of view of the children, particularly the girl. And in many scenes in To Kill a Mockingbird, they're off on an adventure, and you experience it completely through them, and what they're doing seems like incredibly frightening and exciting. And so, like, yes, that is exactly what three kids would be doing at night, getting into trouble and, trying to sneak up on the porch of their neighbors and stuff. And so that To Kill a Mockingbird is what came to mind. And I would say, if you've never seen that and you enjoyed Stand By Me, you will love To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay, well, Toppie, we are at that part of the show where we let folks know what is coming down the pike. Now, I didn't hear any whispers behind the curtain there, but do you have an idea?
Rats! Was it really my turn?
Well, I have
TJ, I think I am totally caught with my pants down.
That's okay.
No,
I have
if you've got
backup.
something, yeah, okay, go for it, because I totally wasn't planning on anything. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You were earning your stripes, sir. Okay, so go ahead and grab me that bag of coins.
All right, I'll grab the coins for you, and you can open the capsule. There you go.
Okay.
Here we are. Put it right in here.
Ooh, what have we got there? Let me open this up. I
love the little sound effect you put in.
Well, so what do we have here? Alrighty. This is a early to mid 90s sitcom that was once part of the network TGIF lineup. A Miller Boyette production starring former Dallas celebrity Mr. Patrick Duffy as the husband starting over with his new life and children, Mr. Frank Lambert.
Oh, I know the series. It's called The Man from Atlantis.
He
Right?
wasn't that.
Wasn't it? Oh.
And on his arm, his blushing bride is none other than the once bombshell of Three's Company, Miss Suzanne Summers.
Oh,
We're
God.
talking about Step by Step, day by day.
All I can say is Spanking P. Arthur seems to be excited, and Tommy Hashbrown said, ugh.
You know, if you have any fondness for Mr. Patrick Duffy, you could just mute the episodes, and he's pretty to watch.
Sure. You know, that's why I wasn't prepared, DJ. This movie tonight was my choice, so I figured you were doing the next one. Anyways,
well, we have a Halloween show. Yes, we're thinking ahead here. That's in the works. So I wanted to give you another turn, but that's okay. You can have another turn after Halloween.
Very well. Anyways, folks, we hope you enjoyed hearing about Stand By Me. And for heaven's sakes, if you haven't seen it, I sure hope you're inspired to see it now. And I hope if you have seen it, you relived some of the memories of that movie with us tonight. Thank you all for being here. Aunt Tudor, Billy, Logan. We didn't hear from you in the chat room, but I hope you're listening. RT Cruiser, hope you enjoyed. Spanky, thanks for coming by. Tommy, thanks for coming as always. And maybe we'll see everybody back next time for Step by Step. There you go.
And you know, get your season passes because this is season 3, and we've got more to come. So, would you do me the honor, sir? Say good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
Thank you for listening to Matinee Minutia. Our show streams live the first and third Friday of each month.
Go to UniVozPods.net, click the tower for audio, enter Discord for chat.
You can find the show wherever you listen to podcasts.
Tweet us on Twitter at Matinee Minutia.
Join our Facebook group.
Visit our webpage at matineeminutia.com.
Have an idea for a future show? Or just want to message us?
Email us at matineeminutia@gmail.com.
Oliver.
This has been an Eighties production.
I have a voice.
I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice.
We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UniVozPods.net. Bless you.
Oh my goodness. I thought I was mute. Oh.